What is going on, everybody? So today I want to do a little bit of a different video, and I'm actually going to react to some things that Rudy from Alpha Investment says in his most recent video on Pokemon, end of the Pokemon era. This came out a little over a day ago at this point. I think it came out on July 15th, and he says some things in this video that I agree with, just in terms of like the macro when it comes to pricing booster boxes. He's talking about how it doesn't really make sense, and I kind of agree with him in the sense that, like, why is Evolving Skies $2,000 and not 1,000 or 1,600? And he says it's Fugazi and fairy dust, but he also says some things in this video that I believe are contradictory to that. And then also he just says some things that I think are blatantly false or wrong, or that if anybody else said on YouTube, they would get roasted into oblivion or called a shill. But just because Rudy's been here so long, he kind of just gets a pass. And I don't know if that's right or if I agree with that. And I like Rudy. I'm a huge fan of Rudy. I've watched him for a long time. I watch almost all of his videos still, even the ones not related to Pokemon. I have a ton of respect for what he's done over the past decade or longer that he's been doing this. The guy is clearly more successful than me, and he really is educational. He's a smart dude. So I want to get that all out of the way first, because it's not really a hate video, but I do think that a lot of people just gloss over things that he says that are blatantly false. Like, for example, when he said Fusion Strike could potentially be higher than Evolving Skies at the end of the year. Like, if anybody else said that, if I said that on YouTube, I would get roasted into oblivion. I would get ratioed in the comments. Video would get disliked into the ground. People would unsubscribe to the channel. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it jealousy, hatred, whatever. I just think it's a bit weird that people glaze over things that are wrong. So today we're gonna cover some of those things, and we're gonna start with about the 418 mark in the video. He's talking about Silver Tempest booster boxes compared to the regular ETB, and you guys can let me know how you interpreted this. But when I watched the video and when I watched it back again, because some people in my comments yesterday when I brought this up in my video said that I didn't really understand his argument and that he was saying, time's the only thing that's objective, and we'll get to that. But when I watched this video and rewatched it, my interpretation was he was basically implying that regular ETBs were undervalued potentially when he's comparing it to the Silver Tempest booster box, and I just think that that is the complete opposite. But we'll watch the clip here for you guys to get a better idea and have some context.
So how do you have Silver Tempest booster boxes at like almost $400 a box? The ETBs of Silver Tempest are like $80, maybe 90 when you watch this. Like, is that the right ratio?
So when we look at Silver Tempest booster boxes and we go to TCG Player, they're about $360. And funnily enough, after Rudy made this video, there were a lot of sales of Silver Tempest, not just on the 15th, but also yesterday on the 16th, and then today on the 17th, we've had a lot of sales at this like 380 mark, and then also the most recent sale, 2 boxes sold at $419.96, almost $420. So maybe that's just a coincidence, who knows? But either way, a couple days ago, this was a $360 booster box on TCG Player, not a $400 box. Rudy really likes to exaggerate with pricing when it comes to looking at the market to try and make his point. And, maybe he's including tax and shipping, whatever. Like, that's fair enough. But point being, that's all still going to be applied to the ETBs. So if you're going to call these 400, you might as well call the ETBs 100 just to be accurate. Either way, we'll go with 360 for a booster box because I think that's fair. I think most people would agree with that. That's market price for 36 packs, okay? Because there's 36 packs in a booster box. Now, in a regular ETB, there are 8 booster packs. Now, if you go to a calculator and you do 36 divided by 8, that gives you 4.5. Now, if you multiply 4.5 by $80, which if we go to the regular ETB, it is $80, almost 81, but 2 days ago it was fairly close to 80. 4.5 times 80, that gives you $360. So, in this entire video, he's trying to talk about things that are objective, that make sense. And I can't think of a more objective way to compare two products than just breaking it down in terms of price per pack. And when you do it for Silver Tempest, it seems pretty fair, right? Like, he's going into this basically implying that the ETBs are somehow undervalued. I'd say that they're evenly valued right now, if not overvalued, or that the booster box is undervalued, because I think most people in this hobby would agree there's probably going to be some level of premium on a sealed booster box compared to a regular ETB, at least from the Sword and Shield era, where those didn't have promo cards or anything special. It's just the packs inside and the dice and all of those things to play the TCG that people don't actually care about. And then right after this, he goes into a tangent about Silver Tempest versus Paldea Evolved, being from different eras, and he's kind of confused how these are both the same price. So I am going to play this again for you guys to get a little bit of context.
So how do you have a Silver Tempest box from Sword and Shield era at almost $400 a box? And then in Scarlet Violet, you have like SVO2 at the same almost $400 a box.
So now after this, he goes into talking about Distant Rivals. But to compare Silver Tempest to Paldea Evolved, because this is something that I feel like a lot of people don't really understand. And I do agree, Paldea Evolved seems a little bit expensive right now. You guys know I just sold some of my Paldea. But to compare these two, because I don't think it's the best example, like Rudy probably could have chose a better box, maybe something like Brilliant Stars, which is a lot older, because people don't realize this. Silver Tempest came out at the end of 2022, November 11th. 2022. Paldea Evolved came out June 9th, 2023. That's only 210 days in between those two sets being released. That is less than 3/5 of a year. That is not a long time to be separated between, if that makes sense. Like those sets were released within a fairly close period of time. So saying that one should be insanely more expensive than the other just because it came from a different era doesn't really make sense to me. That's something that wouldn't be super objective in my mind. And for someone who made this video and talked so much about things being confusing and prices on certain items not making sense and that time being the only objective thing we can look at in Pokemon, this isn't really a great argument in my opinion. If he wanted to try and make his argument better, he probably should have went with something like, I don't know, Steam Siege or Guardians Rising, but even those are like up to $900-ish. So I don't know which bot, maybe Battle Styles would have been a better choice. Battle Styles at 200 versus Paldea Evolved at 360, right? Like that probably would have been a better argument for him to go for instead of taking Silver Tempest. But the other thing that is kind of confusing to me about this video is that if you're going to make a video talking about time being the only objective thing and that a lot of the pricing in Pokemon doesn't really make sense, you probably shouldn't be saying things like this.
I sold online for 700 shipped. You think Fusion goes to 800, Rudy? I mean, I told you all everything in Sword and Shield should be over $1,000 a box, and Best of Breed should be $2,000 to $5,000.
So everything in Sword and Shield should be over $1,000, but Best in Breed, so implying the best sets of the era, should be $2,000 to $5,000. He's basically saying that certain sets in the era should be 2 to 5x the average set, and time is not going to be the factor that's leading to that multiple over the average set. What's going to be the factor is the cards inside of the set and how good of a set it is compared to the other ones. And that's where we have to look at the cards, right? So the whole argument he makes later in the video, which we're going to go to in here in a second, because he talks about Roaring Skies. I know I said it was Ancient Origins in yesterday's video. Sorry. He is comparing Roaring Skies to Evolving and them being the same price. It's kind of weird just to bring that up and say it doesn't make sense, but then, you know, a few minutes before that, you're basically saying that the cards inside of certain sets are going to lead to them being more expensive than other sets. In essence, he's implying that certain cards are going to lead to that multiple.
You're telling me that Evolving Skies at $2,500 is the same price as Roaring Skies from the XY era. Makes no sense to me. You can use whatever you think as justification. We'll look at the single card price. Look at the chase card here. But people's opinions on art and cards change.
So people's opinions on art and cards change. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like when you look at culture in general and society, things have changed over time, like haircuts, the music people listen to, all these things do change, and I agree with that. But that's kind of on the macro scale, I'd say. Society as a whole and the trends that, you know, humans consume and things that we like, those things change. But he's also in this video trying to apply that to the micro in terms of just inside Pokemon, that people are going to start liking different Pokemon and that, you know, certain popular characters now aren't going to be popular in the future. And when we look at the history of Pokemon, it hasn't really changed in terms of the popularity of the characters. When we look at Pokemon, and we'll bring up Evolving Skies in the set list right now, the evolutions were always popular. Maybe not as popular as they are now, but Eevee was popular, Umbreon was popular, Jolteon, Flareon, like all those were fairly popular. Dragonite was popular. Rayquaza was obviously a very popular Pokemon, especially during Emerald. Mew and Mewtwo, those were original Pokemon that everyone liked. Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, all of these ones that people like 20 years ago, people still like. I haven't seen a massive shift in popularity, and maybe you can point to like a couple examples, a couple Pokemon, like maybe Onyx was something that was kind of popular back in the day, right? That nobody really cares about right now. I'm sure there's a few examples, but when you look at the very large players in Pokemon, and not even just those, like there are other ones I forgot to mention, like Lugia, Ho, all the legendaries, Groudon, Kyogre, all of them, right? Like those are Pokemon people enjoyed and they still enjoy. It hasn't changed. And when we look at the card list in Evolving Skies, you have the Moonbryon, you have a Rayquaza, all those other evolutions, Dragonite, what else do you have in there? Outside of those, like nothing too crazy. You have to go quite far down before you find Noivern, which is $40. When you go look at Roaring Skies, you have the Rayquaza, which again, this Pokemon is in Evolving Skies. They both have a Rayquaza. But outside the Rayquaza, you have one Latios card, you have a Gallade, and then there's nothing too crazy in this set. A Hydreigon maybe down here at like $22, a full art. And I'm sure there's going to be someone in my comments section that says I'm just not understanding, but to say that time is the only thing that's objective and say that people's opinions in chase cards change over time even though there's no evidence for that, but then also say that there's going to be sets in an era that are better than other sets and then those sets are going to be more expensive. It doesn't make sense to say all that and then be confused why one set from a certain era is more expensive than a set from a previous era. And again, I'm not disagreeing with the premise that pricing in Pokemon doesn't really make sense. Like, you don't know how much time is being factored in. You don't know how much the chase cards is being factored in, current popularity and public opinion. Like, there's so many factors at play when it comes to the pricing of a booster box. And with that, I agree. Like, it is weird why Evolving Skies is 2,000, not 1,000 or 5,000. Like, who makes up this price? Like, what actually goes into that? I agree that that is a bit weird. But when you actually look at the boxes and which cards are in that set, some things start to make sense, right? Like, if you go through every era, you go through the Sun and Moon era, you go through the Sword and Shield era, if you now go through the Scarlet and Violet era, and you look at the best sets, it's clear which ones are going to be the best performers, which ones are more than likely, not 100% guaranteed, right? But which ones are more than likely going to do the best and see the best ROIs. And we've seen that through the Sun and Moon era. Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Cosmic Eclipse. You have an outlier, Unified Minds up there. You have an outlier in Celestial Storm just because that box apparently didn't get reprinted as much. That and Ultra Prism are maybe a little bit of outliers, but the best sets still are Cosmic, Team Up, and then Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds. Sword and Shield era, your Evolving Skies, clearly the best. Fusion Strike is up there, Lost Origin. Then you have things like Chilling Reign, Brilliant Stars. Like, it all kind of makes sense. Like, you can argue that maybe a couple boxes are out of whack, and sure, like Rebel Clash early on had a pretty decent annualized ROI. It's now fallen off a little bit. Sword and Shield base is up there, and that's kind of like an outlier just because it didn't get printed as much. But just to say that there's no trend or that nothing really makes sense, I don't know. Like, I think that's just going to the extreme and ignoring fairly relevant factors when it comes to investing in Pokemon. And around the 20-minute, 25-second mark, he actually talks about Destined Rivals and there potentially being no more Destined Rivals coming for a long period of time or ever. And I just thought that was really weird to say from Rudy. Maybe he knows something that we don't, but all I know is if I made a video saying that we're probably not going to get more Destined Rivals for a long time or potentially ever, I would get roasted in my comments, I would get ratioed, people would unsub. And I know these are long form videos where he's not actually playing anything out. So it's very easy to like take a 5 to 10 second clip of a video and break it down because honestly, like you could do that for anyone on YouTube, any PokeTuber, anyone in any niche. Like you could find something that they say that's just like whack or out of left field. So I understand that, and I don't want to poke too many holes in what he says because a lot of what he says and like the general argument I do agree with, but there were just some things that nobody was bringing up in the comments or people just kind of glaze over. And it does frustrate me because in this hobby, I feel like we should try our best to make sense of the information that we have and rationalize our opinions. And I just feel like he didn't do the best job of that in this video with certain things. But as always, you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. We're going to get back to regular scheduled programming tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, so we're going to do the ETB update. It's going to be interesting to see how many ETBs, a Prismatic, and Celebration, some of these other sets are out there. But until then, thank you so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.